So, the first big update of Throne of Liberty for 2026. We have the update notes for the Korean server. Keep in mind that they are automatically translated, and we no longer have whelps to completely confirm translations. So I'll do my best here. But it does indeed come with the rework of the bonus damage and damage reduction system. The way it works with additional hits, so you're not going to end up with situations where you deal obscene amounts of burst damage or all zeros. They've finally added some significant Battlegrounds improvements and a new Tevent Archboss furniture. There will be a new battle pass for the Korean server. Maybe we get the same thing, but they've finally added a new skin to the game. That's the outfit and the weapons. So let's go through everything we know so far. This update again is what Tico promised on his Tico Talks of December 2025, the mid-January update, with that combat balancing to multi-hits and damage reduction. So what we see here at the beginning of the patch notes, again roughly translated from Korean, their dev comment is that some weapons and skills were overperforming their design intent with the additional hits and damage reduction. So they reorganized the structure, focusing on basic hits to improve the flow and feel of combat. And they hope it will alleviate the stress caused by excessive burst damage and damage nullification, basically where you were dealing zeros. However, they understand that this can be some significant changes, so they will continue to monitor actual gameplay results. So the first thing we see here is that they're changing up a bunch of skills here that will no longer be affected by additional damage and damage reduction, meaning your bonus damage here and that damage reduction here. And that includes abilities like Mother Nature's Protest, which is an ability that can trigger an additional hit whenever you're shooting projectiles. So all of these effects that are just going to have a chance to trigger on the use of your regular attacks will for the most part be no longer affected by those stats. This is good if you were not stacking bonus damage, and same for damage reduction. But if you were stacking those stats, this mainly just pertains to PvP, then this would be considered a nerf. These include abilities like Spectrum of Agony, Cleaving Moonlight, Umbral Spirit, Thunder Spirit, Mortal Mark, Mother Nature's Protest, Stellar Dash, Summon Satellite, and more. Again, these are rough Google translations, so it may not be completely clear when you read these abilities exactly what is changing for you on your weapon. But we can wait till Thursday and we'll most likely get all these changes too in our official patch notes. This update should get pushed to the Korean server and hopefully with proper translations, and I can go through them more clearly then. But you can see then there's a big long list of skills where the amount of damage reduction, the amount of bonus damage has changed. What appears to be like some buffs, some nerfs, but the overall impact of this change will not be clear until we do some actual testing and can confirm the exact abilities that this is all changing on. Again, the idea behind this is that anything that is just going to proc off your usual abilities, like Mother Nature's Protest, will no longer be affected by bonus damage. Therefore, you will find it to be significantly less impactful. And therefore, we see some cases here that the additional damage values are getting actually buffed. And on the flip side, with damage reduction, since there will now be a lot of abilities, again like Mother Nature's Protest, which will ignore damage reduction, meaning that this damage will go through regardless, and so you'll never deal zero hits with it. And so you find in some cases that the damage reduction is actually getting increased. But ultimately, this change mainly pertains to the tank's damage reduction no longer being able to reduce all hits to zero, and then any build that relies on multi-hits with bonus damage will find that no longer all those extra hits will trigger the bonus damage. And for the average user who didn't rely on bonus damage but does have some multi-hit abilities, they'll find that those multi-hit abilities will no longer hit for 000 when attacking a target that has a lot of damage reduction. But moving on from that, we can see there's a bunch of skill fixes here, some pretty good ones too, like the lightning effect from Mother Nature's protest, will now properly transfer if the target's under the frost effect from Da Vinci and the freezing whirlwind specialization. Fixing the tooltip of devotion where it showed 40% regardless of your specializations. Making vampiric contract apply to staff and also the mana ball attacks. That should give Invocator a little bit of a damage boost when using that damage vampiric contract. Along with fixing the Apostle's Wrath, the Clay Salvation damage skill. Its duration instead of 3 seconds now states 5. For the orb, your summon satellite, they removed the effect where the shield health will be increased by 50% when used on a party member with the satellite effect. This is just a straight up shield nerf. But they have added a new effect. When using Distortion Curtain, the Distortion Curtain's vitality is increased by 20% for each sphere within the range. I assume you can get it down to 60% with 3 orbs, but it requires you to have to actually place down those orbs before giving the big shield. And then yeah, like more damage reduction effects. It's now 40 instead of 20. And they're balancing the amount you get through runes and artifacts too, along with the gear sets. Like Demon Hunter is now 14 per stack instead of 7, that being your Brute Slayer set. And you can see a lot of other balancing here. And in most cases, it's gone up. And again, the reason being is additional hits can no longer trigger this damage. They also say here they increase the skill cooldown effect of Tevant's Rage and Enraged Tevant's Rage by 10 seconds. Tevant's Madness and Tevant's Massacre. That wouldn't be Greatsword, it doesn't have a cooldown. Wouldn't be the Daggers, that also doesn't have a cooldown. Shouldn't be the Bow. The Wand doesn't have the cooldown either. So it is most likely the Orb. But still, that doesn't make sense, because it doesn't directly have a cooldown. It just triggers based on 2 skills. So I'm not 100% sure what this means. Again, we'll be able to confirm later when the update's out on the Korean server. Your Cornelius Sword, that extra damage reduction goes to 250 now. Same for the Azrael Sword from 250 to 280. And you can see these other minor changes here, including Della Zenoa, Queen Belandir, all rebalancing that bonus damage and damage reduction. Again, that was a big pain point in PvP. Oh, it looks like that they'll be adding the 100% monster damage bonus to the tier 1 version now of the wand like it was initially. At least if I understand that correctly. And them using the word phrase implies that this was just a tooltip update. That it did always have that 100% extra damage bonus all along. It just didn't say it. They're also rebalancing the stat points, the amount of damage reduction you get, along with from food items, the bonus damage and the damage reduction. But finally we go on to the promising Battlegrounds changes. The buff that you can gain will vary in strength based on the difference between the team's score, and if that difference decreases, the buff may just disappear entirely. They're also adding weakness exposure, so when you're attempting to capture. So this would be like tanks who would have an obscene amount of CC resistance will now have their CC resistance reduced. And this reduction will also fluctuate depending on the team's score. So say you are losing, then this may not reduce your CC resistance at all to help that losing team capture new points. But if you're winning, your tanks may not have any CC stats when trying to cap a point, meaning they're much more easily interrupted, making tanks not nearly as oppressive as they are right now with regards to just continually capping points and a lot of people not being able to do anything about it because they are so survivable. And then with all that CC resistance, you can't put any CC skill on them. And then, yeah, they added the Tevant furniture you can go for. This is what the bed will look like. Your chair, table, and the bedside lamp. Not exactly the best quality picture here, and they didn't add the flooring or the wallpaper displayed, but they'll most likely add to the shop, like they have done with the other ones. But yeah, that's about it. In the overall scheme of things, it's not exactly that massive, but this list sure is. A lot of things have been affected. There were then a bunch of changes and fixes here, including the exploit where you could get an excessive amount of specialization points. People were running around with pretty much every single specialization point on their weapons because there was still some copy and paste bug here. There are a bunch of UI updates here, some small movement fixes, and the bug in the raid where if you died in the first phase, you were no longer able to get the reward box at the end, even if they complete it. But then we'll have a look at the new cosmetics. They have a little bit of a trailer here. I'll leave this linked below. You can view it. I dare not play it for fear of getting copyrighted. But we can have a look at that new outfit. So this is it here on the male character. Looks pretty cool. And then it's here for the female character. You are able to remove the decoration. So that's the cape gun on the male outfit. And then for the female outfit, we then get some new weapons with it too. So the greatsword, the sword and shield, daggers, crossbows, longbow, staff, book and wand, spear, and the orb. Overall, pretty awesome setup. But this will just be coming to the shop. We don't know exactly how much loot it will be for us on global, but the Korean server will also be getting a new battle pass, which looks like it's only going to have some morphs. So that doesn't bode too well for us as well. We can't see in our calendar a preview of what's upcoming, but as of late, battle passes have not brought us any new outfits or weapon skins, which is unfortunate. Just some new morphs. And the Korean server looks to be getting the same treatment too. But we'll be able to confirm on Thursday what we actually get. Just make sure to claim your rewards here. But yeah, that's about it for the update. In most cases, the main change you will see is for PvP. There may be some of you running bonus damage in PvE on some certain builds, and you might see some nerfs there, or depending on how well they balance it, you might not see any real change either. But ultimately, the goal is to not be hitting for 000s and for, I'm guessing, crossbow and some longbow users nuking you with just the sheer amount of bonus damage they can stack with all the extra hits. And again, with that CC change in Battlegrounds, these should be overall some pretty significant improvements for the quality of life of PvP. But we'll have to see when we can actually test this and how well they've balanced all this. So, thanks all for watching. Another special thank you to all my channel members, and we'll see you guys around.